Have you ever felt the agitation that tags along with repeated chirps of notifications on X? It seems like Kenny Bednar has felt that he has already shared 3X posts in the last 24 hours. But as he prepares for his next stop at the Wanda Diamond League Sishia, he has seemingly set one strict rule, taking to X prior to his showdown against Noah Lyles and Kishane Thompson. Bednarek shared his opinion about the mute button on the social media platform. The mute button is the real MVP on this app, he wrote. Soon after, Bednarek shared the post. His mother, Mary and Bednarek, took to the comment section and dropped 4 laughing emojis, followed by a face bomb emoji. While it's worth noting the rivalry between him and Noah Lyles, the Jamaican sprinter is probably in no mood to hear about or talk about Lyles. After all, the friction between them is active like a strong headwind. A few fans even commended Bednarek's apparent decision to mute. One shared, mute instead of blocking, let them talk to the wall. Minimizing the noise before the upcoming race is indeed something that Bednarek should do. During a conversation with CNN Sports, Kenny Bednarek stated, "As you saw, Noah stared me down. I gave a push. I feel like we both could have handled that situation a little bit differently and with more respect, but it's crystal clear that the Cold War is still on." Well, Bednarek isn't someone who keeps quiet on social media. His X and Instagram profiles aren't just a medium for him to share his victory stories. He also uses them to rant and express his frustrations. Sometimes these rants invite unwanted notifications, and that's what he might be trying to escape. Nevertheless, we all know that Bednarek's mother has always stood in support of her sprinter son. But do you know that he can still hear his mother's cheers from the stands despite the noise in the crowd? Kenny Bednarek talks about the kind of support his mother provides. Bednarek has been pretty vocal about the hardships that his mother had to endure after adopting 4 children all by herself. Needless to say, she has become a beacon of motivation for the Olympian, and it's often the presence of his loved ones in the stands that further UPS his enthusiasm. During a conversation with Wisconsin Public Radio, Bednarek stated, "Sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't let you down because you're here." It definitely helps a lot having the people that support you there. It definitely gives you a little bit more energy. We've all worked together as one in order to get to this point, and I don't want to let them down. But the one constant face that cheers the Rice Lake sprinter is Mary and Bednarek. He continued, "The funny thing about my mom is every single time she's in the stadium, no matter how many people are there, I can always hear her. It's crazy. She just has that certain pitch. And I'm like, yeah, that's my mom." Now, that Bednarek might have opted to mute the noise on social media. The summer air in Cilicia was thick with anticipation. The Diamond League meet was just days away, and the men's 200 meters promised fireworks. On one side stood Noah Lyles, the reigning world champion and self-proclaimed king of the event. On the other, Kenny Bednar, the silver-haired assassin whose quiet demeanor masked an explosive competitive streak. The stage was set for another chapter in their rivalry. But before the pre-race press conference could devolve into the usual chest-thumping about times and titles, Bednarek took the conversation in a direction no one expected. The question that sparked it. It started innocently enough. A reporter asked Kenny, with Noah in peak form, "What's your secret weapon going into this race?" Instead of talking about training regimes, his explosive starts, or the hours in the weight room, Bednarek leaned back in his chair, smiled slightly, and said, "Honestly, the real MVP isn't me. It's someone you don't see on the track." The room, used to athletes giving mechanical answers, fell silent. Cameras zoomed in. Reporter pens froze mid-sentence. The MVP reveal. Bednarek explained that his real MVP was his older brother, Quincy. I wouldn't even be sitting here without him. Kenny began. When I was younger, Quincy was the one who kept me grounded. He's not a coach, not a sprinter, but he's been my anchor. When I'm on the road for months, he's the one checking in at 2 a.m. just to ask, "You good?" And when I'm doubting myself, he's the one who reminds me who I am. It wasn't the kind of answer that sells highlight reels, but it was raw, human, and deeply telling life before the track lights. Bednarek recounted how growing up in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, their family didn't have the luxury of private coaches or elite training facilities. We ran in the streets in the snow in hand-me-down spikes, Kenny said with a chuckle. Quincy wasn't just a big brother. He was my training partner, my motivator, my protector. One winter when Kenny was 14, a blizzard shut down their school track for weeks. Instead of letting the training slide, Quincy shoveled out a makeshift lane on a frozen driveway so Kenny could keep his form sharp. It was stupid cold. Kenny laughed, but we did it. That's the kind of person he is. No excuses, just solutions. The mental game before facing Lyles. Facing Noah Lee is no small task. The reigning champion is known for his lightning top speed, his mind games, and his knack for owning the spotlight. But Bednarek has learned to filter out the noise. A few days ago, Quincy called and said, "Don't get caught running Noah's race. Make him run yours." That's been on my mind all week. Kenny revealed, "It's not about chasing anyone. It's about making them chase me. A brother's sacrifice. While most know Bednarek medal count, Olympic silver in Tokyo, multiple Diamond League wins, few know Quincy's sacrifices to help him get there." Kenny told one story that visibly moved the press room. "When I got my first call up to a big international meet, I didn't have the money to travel. Quincy sold his own car to make it happen. He told me, 'You go run. I'll get another car one day.' That's the kind of MVP I'm talking about. It wasn't a flashy sports story. It was a life story. How it fuels the rivalry." Kenny's words didn't just draw admiration. They added another layer to the rivalry with Lyles. "Noah's great," Kenny acknowledged, "but I'm not here just for myself. Every race I run, I'm running for Quincy, too. And that gives me a different kind of fire." While Lyles often thrives on the mental warfare of pre-race chatter, Bednarek's calm, heartfelt tone shifted the narrative. Instead of trading verbal jabs, he anchored his motivation in loyalty and gratitude. Reactions from the track world. Social media lit up with clips of Bednarek's comments. Fans flooded his posts with messages praising his humility. One tweet that went viral read, "In a sport obsessed with self-promotion, Kenny Bednar just reminded everyone what gratitude looks like." Even Noah Lee, who rarely lets a rival's words pass without a playful counter, posted a short message. "Respect, but I'm still coming for that." When, the night before the race, as the Cilicia Diamond League approached, Kenny and Quincy shared one last call. It wasn't about strategy or splits. It was about perspective. Quincy told me, "No matter what happens tomorrow, you've already won. You're living the dream we talked about when we were kids." Hearing that took all the pressure off, Kenny said. Bednarek went to sleep that night, not thinking about beating Noah Lyles, but about honoring the sacrifices that got him here. Race day energy. On race day, the stadium buzzed with anticipation. Fans debated whether Lyle's superior top speed would be too much for Bednarek or whether Burke's explosive curve running could spring a surprise. As the athletes were introduced, Lyles bounced on his toes, grinning at the camera. Bednarek, in contrast, glanced briefly toward the stands where Quincy was watching for the first time in person at a European meet. Why this matters beyond track and field. The story of Kenny Bednarek and his real MVP is more than a pre-race headline. It's a reminder that behind every athlete's name on a scoreboard is a network of people who've poured time, money, and heart into their journey. Bednarek summed it up best. If I win, it's our win. If I lose, it's our lesson. Either way, I'm not doing this alone. When the gun goes off in Silesia, all the hype about times, titles, and world rankings will fade into the background. What will remain, win or lose, is the image of a sprinter running not just for glory, but for the brother who shoveled snow off a driveway in the dead of winter so a dream could survive. That in the end might be the real victory. Why do you think his mother dropped the laughing emojis? Share your thoughts with us. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time. The stadium buzzed with anticipation. Hayward Field was a cauldron of energy, simmering with the heat of summer and the fire of elite competition. Fans from across the globe had gathered, phones ready, flags waving, voices rising. But they weren't just here for a race. They were here for the race. Noah Lyles versus Kenny Bednarek. The rematch. The moment. In the shadows of the pre-race frenzy, one man sat with startling calm. Kenny Bednarek, Kung Fu Kenny to his fans, wasn't trying to dominate social media or soak in the spotlight. His focus was internal, grounded, sharpened. It was here, in the quiet moments before the storm, that Kenny offered a glimpse into the mind of a man poised, not just to race, but to make history. The calm before the storm. People don't always see the work behind the podium, Kenny said, seated in the athlete's lounge, a towel draped over his shoulders, his eyes steady. Everyone loves the gold, the headlines, the records. But the real MVP? It's the grind, the early mornings, the pain, the losses, the nights you're screaming into your pillow because you missed your time by a tenth of a second. His voice wasn't bitter. It was real. Kenny had always been the underdog in the public eye. While Lyles dazzled with showmanship, charisma, and record-breaking splits, Bednarek was the silent storm, an unstoppable force in motion, unflashy but undeniably lethal. Noah's a beast, he acknowledged. He's earned his flowers. But people forget, I've been right there with him. Step for step. I'm not chasing him. I'm running my race. And that was the key. Origins of a warrior. To understand Kenny Bednarek is to understand resilience. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and raised in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Kenny didn't have the luxury of elite academies or international coaches in his early days. He trained in the cold, raced on modest tracks, and carved a name for himself not through hype, but hustle. Growing up, I wasn't supposed to be here, he said. I wasn't the kid people scouted. I was the one who had to prove I belonged. From high school phenom to junior college standout, Bednarek's journey defied convention. Most elite sprinters go through NCAA pipelines. Kenny? He took a detour, and then blew the doors off the system. At Indian Hills Community College, he ran a stunning 19.49 in the 200 m. The world had no choice but to take notice. That moment told me I could run with anyone, he recalled. It wasn't about beating anyone else. It was about unlocking my own potential. Behind the scenes, the real MVP mindset. The conversation shifted from past to present. With the biggest race of the year just hours away, how did Kenny stay grounded? Visualization, he said without hesitation. Every night, I run the race in my head. I see the curve. I feel the wind. I hear the crowd. I rehearse every detail. But it's not just mental prep. Kenny's team is meticulous. From biomechanics to recovery, every aspect of his training is fine-tuned. You want to know the real MVP? He said, cracking a grin. My team. My coach, my physio, my nutritionist. People see the guy crossing the finish line. They don't see the squad that got him there. He paused, then added, and honestly, my mom. She's the reason I fight so hard. She didn't raise a quitter. There was emotion in his voice now. Not weakness, depth, humanity. The rivalry, respect, not resentment. Of course, no story about Bednarek can ignore the elephant on the track, Noah Lyles. The two had traded finishes over the years, often mere milliseconds apart. In 2021, Lyles took the Olympic bronze in Tokyo, while Bednarek grabbed the silver. In 2023, Lyles dominated the World Championships in Budapest, but Bednarek stayed close, anchoring relays and pushing boundaries. It's not hate, Kenny clarified. That whole beef narrative. Media loves that. But we push each other. Iron sharpens iron. But make no mistake, tonight was personal. Every sprinter dreams of that race, he said. The one where everything clicks. Where you don't just win, you arrive. I've had great races, but I'm still chasing one. And could that happen tonight? He smirked. Watch me. Game plan. Speed meets strategy. Sprinting is often viewed as pure explosiveness, but Kenny explained the science behind the speed. People think it's all about the start. It's not. The 200m is about rhythm. It's an art. The curve is where you make or break it. You have to control the chaos. He likened it to music. It's like jazz. There's structure, but there's also freedom. You have to feel when to push, when to hold. It's flow. His favorite part of the 200m? The transition off the curve, he said instantly. That moment when you explode into the straightaway and you know, if you're ahead, it's game over. And what about if he's behind? He laughed. Then it's showtime.